in this example, C++ code, I'm showing a selection of if statements. We're using if, else, if, else, if, else, and then a final else. And each of these is where I equals a specific value. Now, all of these are completely legal, and this is a great way of using if, else, if statements. However, in this particular example, since I is always being tested to equal some value, there actually is a better way that I can do this. So let's take a look at how we can do that real quick. Now, before we get into that, you might ask, well, why would I do something like that? Well, a perfect example is if I have a menu operation, I say choose an option between 1 and 3 or 1 and 5, something like that. Okay, so that's a reason you see this quite frequently, actually, is because of some sort of input from a set range. Now, I'm not going to look for a wide range of values in here. I'm looking for a set range. So let's just take an example like this. C++ gives us something called a switch statement. And a switch statement works a little bit different, and it's actually a little bit faster and easier to write. So I'm just going to put this at the bottom so we can see how it matches up. First, I'm going to use my switch. This is my switch statement. You notice it turns purple because it's a statement command. It's a keyword, just like my if and my else statements that I'm showing here. Inside my switch, I'm going to take the variable that I want to evaluate. In this case, it's I. And then I have a set of braces around everything. Now, one thing that's going to be different is with my switch, I only need to have one brace. And that goes around my whole switch statement. To identify each of my individual levels, I'll specify a case. And here's, for example, case 1. And I'm going to say what's going to happen. And then I'm going to specify a break. Now, where my comment is to where my break is, that could be a whole bunch of lines of code. Every line of code is going to be evaluated and run. I do not need to put out any type of braces or anything like that. This is all handled inside my case. I'm then going to specify case 2 and a break. And I'll continue this for case 3 as well, as you see here. What's going to happen is I'm going to look at my variable, and I'm going to see case 1. If I equals 1, then I'm going to do a series of steps. I'm going to do the same thing for if case 2 and case 3. This is like my if I equals 1, else if I equals 2, else if I equals 3. And then I need to have a default. This is if nothing matched my I value. So you'll notice that the amount of code I write is actually a little bit smaller, which is nice. It's a little bit faster to write. It makes everything nice and logically organized. I don't have to have all my else statements. I don't have to worry about missing a statement like an else and creating an issue. And switches also wind up being pretty fast to operate during runtime. So this is nice. And if I have more than just 1 or 2 options, a lot of times I'll go to a switch statement as a piece of code to write. Now, switches do have an interesting situation about them. I want to show you what's going to happen with one in just a second. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove this code so I can show you this other option. And we're going to have day of the week. So what I'm looking for here is a number day of the week. So 0 for Sunday, 1 for Monday, 2 for Tuesday, etc. The reason I'm looking for a numeric value is that with my switch operation, my variable needs to be an integer number. Okay, that is one of the weird things about a switch. So I do have to keep that in mind. I can't use strings and say, oh, if it's Monday or if it's Tuesday, something like that. I do need to use an integer value. So here's my day of the week. I'm going to say case 1 being Monday. But I'm going to do something a little bit interesting. This is a neat trick that the switch allows you to do. Say case 2, and on down through case 5. Now, the reason we're doing this, and this is a kind of a little trick with a switch statement, is that it will execute every command that it sees after it meets the first case statement until it reaches that break. So for example, I can write something like this. This is a weekday because if 1 is Monday, 5 is Friday, all days in between are weekdays. Now I'll specify my break. So this lets us do is, instead of saying something like, if I is greater than 1 but less than 5, this gives us a little bit of an option for doing something like this. There are other situations we want to use this, but this is just a real simple, easy to understand method. Now, what about our weekend? Well, we'll specify case 0 and case 6, and finally an error message for our default. Okay, so this allows us to group things. The switch statement does not require that my cases be in a specific order, from ascending to descending or descending to ascending. Rather, it just looks for an equal value. And I can group things together like this to make it easier to work with. So this is just a simple kind of little trick of something we can use when working with our switch statement.